All right, so I'm trying to think if I had anything else before I get rolling here. Yeah, as I think that you're aware from the contract, we always present, we do multiple kind of concepts in-house, but we only present one. We always feel like it's our job to pare it down and present to you guys what we think is really the best way to go. So we're happy with where this landed, and we hope that you guys are too. So the first thing that we do is come up with a word board. So I will walk you guys through that. Different words that we would have pulled from like your website or the PowerPoint that you guys provided. Community, unique, residents, neighbors, urban, advocacy, thriving, history, of course, unity, tourism, the buildings, the streets, preservation. And then we really liked the idea of the word blocks. So to us, we ended up thinking that blocks just had a really unique meaning from the actual blocks that LoDo is made up of, which if I remember right, I think it's 23, something like that in the actual neighborhood itself. And then the idea of building blocks and community and how things kind of work together to create something larger than just, just the thing itself. I guess the sum of its parts is larger. So ended up kind of focusing on the word blocks. So we're going with connecting the blocks and then paring it down to the words unique, urban, and unity. And so I'm going to go ahead and walk through the build and show you guys what that means. So in terms of connecting the blocks, again, one thing we're looking at is the physical blocks and what that looks like. And then I'll walk you through the symbolic build. We kind of went through multiple approaches with this. So this is the first kind of build. So just like a symbolic kind of representation of the different blocks. And of course, you can see the building blocks and what could really be represented as streets throughout. So you can start to see kind of where the concept is coming in, how the blocks are starting to build, and how LoDo starts to take shape. This was one picture that we liked because obviously it includes LoDo, but also includes the backdrop of Denver, which is pretty iconic. So this is one where we started looking at some of the shapes and whatnot within. And we've got, I'm gonna actually hide my little mark here. Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that we kind of looked at some of the skylines, some of the shapes again, the building blocks, if you will, and how this starts to create kind of a mark within. So there we've got the word LoDo. And kind of see how that's pulled out, brought together, given some colorization. And then this is the mark that we want to present with the tagline connecting the blocks. So with that, here's just another iteration. Really wanted to show, how a big blocky logo like this can work on multiple types of backgrounds, colors, and I'm going to walk you through quite a bit more here. So that is the or underlying kind of reveal, if you will, and then I'm going to walk you through the brand. Okay. So as I mentioned, we really looked at building blocks. We really liked the idea of shapes, stacking, how those all kind of fit together, and just kind of like the aerial view of a map and thinking how, you kind of see all of these shapes and how paths are created. Believe it or not, this was actually one of the very first shapes that we really liked. Unfortunately, another LoDo organization is using this shape. So we wanted to keep it kind of in the background as a just more of a branding element. So of course you might already be thinking this, but a lot of the windows in Denver, specifically Union Station, you kind of see this shape like all over downtown. So we really liked that. And then just kind of like bringing in some of the geometrical type elements. So just kind of bringing those out to the forefront so you'll see how they work in through the branding. So for instance, you can see how it works in with the different shapes and how this is a potential setup for a newsletter utilizing the new logo. This is potentially, not that you guys do business cards, but it's just a concept to show how, again, we can kind of reinforce some of the different shapes. Even though it's not part of the logo, it still kind of works as a shape that supports the brand. From there, just kind of showing, again, this is like a generic type setup, but something where you can see how the different images would be worked together. We've got the cutouts again, and then the pop of color. This is a potential website build. Again, this was not in the contract or anything like that. So it's a really quick design, but just to support the view of the logo and really how the different elements work together. And there's just kind of how headers, subheaders, and supporting text would look. From there, we actually went ahead and we built out some custom, custom artwork. So we would view this line art as, again, kind of supporting. So we've got the blocks that would be more of the visuals in terms of photography, and then the line art that would actually be supporting. So these different things would work together. So if you throw them all on the same thing, that's going to be way too much, but used in the right kind of hierarchy, then it kind of all starts to work together.
Is this logo different from the ones?
It is, and I'll explain that. I think that we got them all on a single page, but yes, I'll explain like the acceptable use here in a little bit, but yeah, good call. And we even got your little lamppost within the artwork here, which I know. I know it's very small, but we did do a little drawing of that. From there, we just wanted to call it the color palette. So really looking at iconic Denver colors and named those accordingly. Obviously, you've seen kind of what we presented, and then we've got the secondary palette that goes along with that. The orange ended up being like one of the favorites, although we pared that down a little bit with the green just so that it worked with a lot of the imagery and stuff like that without being too overpowering. But yeah, we've got the stone color and the browns and stuff like that, just to kind of keep it like really Colorado. So here's a few different what we would call acceptable use variants. And of course, these would all be broken out like with tagline, without tagline. And we'll show a couple more examples of this, but we want to show that we want to have that urban feel. The word LoDo is not exactly the easiest thing in the world to work with. So that definitely took some work, but we wanted to allow just different variants. So I wanted to talk to you guys potentially about fulfilling merch. We do that for a lot of clients, so we've got some examples of that as well. But you can see how LoDoNA would work, and that would be, just random examples, but like I can see that working well just like as an embroidered piece on a shirt. But if you need to use the full LoDo Neighborhood Association for whatever application, we've got that variation for you as well. And then if you're looking for something kind of stacked and a little bit more funky feeling, then we've got the vertical version. So these are just some shirts. It's one of our favorite things to do. I think that I had mentioned to Bill before. We actually do all the design for the Rio Grande and all of their merchandise at this point. So the shirts that they sell, we actually design those. So that's just like a potential situation. If you guys were interested in selling merch, then we'd love to potentially partner up on that. And we just like doing the designs. So that's what we came up with there. It's also just like a good way to see how you can use the logo and the branding elements in totally different ways. So it's a good supplemental piece as well. And that concludes the presentation. And there's that would be the primary mark here in front of you. So I'm gonna peel back on that and go back